that we're looking for.
You see, it is not touching sites 1 and 2 right now, but that doesn't mean it couldn't move up and find a way to get it there.
Doug, I really want to make it clear that when you say option, it may be option in terms of a particular alignment. It is not an option that the streetcar will not serve the hub. The streetcar will serve the hub.
Right.
So the use of the word option there is very, very dangerous. The streetcar will serve the hub, it will serve the convention centre, it will try to reach the park in some capacity.
Mark, yeah, he says it's the city's commitment that the streetcar will serve the hub and will serve the convention center. When I said it was an option, it wasn't an option that it served it, is that this was one of the options for the streetcar route. So I appreciate you clearing that up. Well, what do you all think? We've go back, Allan, to the 3 sites, go all the way through. So we're talking 1 and 2, and a combination of 3, 5, and 6. I think Claire would argue that maybe the Caucus Convention Center ought to be paired up with that Santa Fe also, and then site A. Sir, what do you think?
My question is, it seems like you've got a question that is being begged here. It's about high-speed rail. When will you have that answer? Because if that answer is coming in 6 months and you cite it, then what good does it do if it can't go there? I mean, so when will you find out where high-speed rail can go or can't go?
Well, ODOT, it's my understanding that ODOT is in the process of starting to select a consultant to do further studies of that high-speed rail. And I know that kind of sounds like another consultant, but it is that. I suspect that it won't be 6 months. I suspect it might be longer than that. We know that it's going from Oklahoma City to Tulsa. And we generally, I think, feel, our team, I'm not speaking for ODOT in the state in any way, shape, or form, we feel like it's probably going to end up getting on that UP line, or maybe coming up and going a different route. Those 2 seem to be surfacing as the ways it might happen. What we're trying to do is look at those 2 options and provide as much flexibility for whatever we propose to touch both of those options, whichever one they pick. Maybe the high-speed rail station is a separate station with a real direct streetcar link, and so that can work real well. Maybe they're integrated. We don't know yet, but what I think we want to do is keep pushing forward and maintain that flexibility in our plan.
Another point I'd like to make is that the city has the ability, obviously this becomes political at some point, but to tell ODOT where they want their station, where the city wants their station. We were hired, our company was hired by the city of Tampa to do a study for the city to tell FDOT, Florida Department of Transportation, where that station should be in their city. So we feel like this study is really critical to informing ODOT where that station should be. So it becomes connected. And they're looking for connectivity as well. They want to increase their ridership as much as possible, and the best way to do that is to connect it with other modes. So we feel like that this hub study needs to be completed, and we give that to ODOT and say, here's where it's going. So that's how we feel like we're addressing it. We've got a lot of flexibility within that as well. But that's our approach.
Let me go back to Jeff and then go over here.
And I wanted to speak on the city part, because one thing that has been missing from this discussion is MAPS 3. And I don't know how many people here live, and I'm going to say Oklahoma City voter. So I assume that, okay, half the audience is. So it's totally relevant to explain. There's several committee members here that have been appointed by the mayor and the council to make recommendations as to how the transit funds are used. And we have $120 million for a downtown streetcar system. We have an additional $10 million that is for commuter, whether it's a hub or commuter rail-related items. And what I just wanted to say is our committee is going to be eyeing the results of this thing for 2 reasons. One is we want to interface the streetcar directly with the hub. And the second part is we want to look at what a good phase 1 is for the hub. And what I might suggest to you is that, I think you mentioned, and I can't see, you got Santa Fe and the 2 parking lots up there, and then the other parking lot across the boulevard. If our committee, and I'm speaking in very general terms, not for the committee as a whole, but using our $10 million for property acquisition made sense. And we would ask consultants, okay, high-speed rail probably isn't a reality for 30, 35 years. But does it make sense to buy those 2 parking lots there so we have control over those properties so we can grow out the hub? So, you know, with that $10 million, we really want to see a first phase implemented rather than another study that ends up on a shelf and all of you have wasted your time. You know, this is something that we actually want to see go somewhere. And the only other thing I wanted to say was the lines that are up there got us in some big trouble politically with the council. Those lines that indicate the streetcar are preliminary recommendations. Our committee has not actually made a formal recommendation to council yet. And the other thing about those gold lines that are out there, those dash lines, is that our committee is looking at a larger streetcar system plan, a phase 2, phase 3, phase 4 sort of perspective, and that isn't even in the frame of scope. So not to discount the hub study, because this is focused on the hub, but I just wanted to re-emphasize, particularly with the rhetoric that has been put out here last few weeks, that our committee has not made a formal recommendation. There are a lot of streets that are on this map that we are eyeing very positively, but there is a larger system, and we have $120 million. So we're going to be looking at how to best use that money, and that probably is a system perhaps larger than what's depicted there. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. I think, again, what you talked about, the $10 million, our goal in the study is to give you a strategic plan on how to best utilize that $10 million. And if it is buying sites or it's getting it ready so you can use that as leverage to get more FTA funding to do the hub in a bigger way, that's our goal. I think that aligns with yours. Sir, you had a comment or a question?
Yes, I'm David Strobel, and I think 2 of the questions, it'll be at least 2 years for the high speed. We received Federal Railroad Administration grant money to do the environmental and the service development plan for the high speed rail. We're proud of that. And to answer Senator Johnson's question up front, one of the key components of that on the high speed route is we are going to be required to do all those environmental analysis on that route. So that's forthcoming. We've done a lot of engineering. We have not done a lot of environmental. So I think that's Senator Johnson will flush out of that is yet to come. And the communities, obviously, folks, they'll have opportunities for those inputs. The one thing I want to mention, I think that's, from my perspective, very good at the department is all of these efforts that are going on. I think the opportunity of these things to be going on at the same time is wonderful for this whole region and state. We're not being boxed in a corner with one issue and being dealt a bad hand. Whether it's the hub study, the streetcar, the high-speed rail, no one can tell exactly what's going to come in that crystal ball. We don't know which one of these are going to flush out quick, which one of these are going to flush out over a little more time. But the fact that these things are being studied together and working together to make sure that we don't make a hasty decision to box something in, I think is really fortunate for the area. And the fact that the federal government has provided us some money to go through these efforts, I think speaks highly for Oklahoma that we competed at that level to get some of that money. I think that's a good thing for this effort and some of the others.
Absolutely. Thank you. Let's see, anybody else that hadn't had a chance? Let's see, you two have spoken. Anybody else want to say their piece? Anthony?
I had a technical question, Doug. Can high-speed rail and freight and commuter rail coexist in that existing rail corridor?
You want to take that?
I'm sorry, Anthony, did you repeat that?
I just sort of a basic question, but can high-speed rail and freight and commuter rail coexist in the existing corridor?
They can coexist. That will be somewhat subject to the ridership model, so we understand how many tracks we need, say, for commuter rail. Based on the preliminary discussions we've had with ODOT, they are considering, I don't want to get too much into the technology here, but there is an intermediate level of high-speed rail which allows you to run up to about 150 miles an hour on improved freight tracks. If you start talking about high-speed rail like they have in Japan, that's a different mode altogether that's separate right-of-way, electrified, and everything else. But we're understanding that it is the mode of high-speed rail that could run with freight or commuter rail. And that's That's our assumption right now. As we get our ridership information and we know how many commuter rail platforms we need and how that works with Amtrak and looking at the high-speed rail, hopefully running on freight tracks, we'll determine whether or not we need to widen that right of way or if it fits within what's there. So